And we're live. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first edition of the My Take podcast. This should be interesting. I don't know how to avoid saying a lot. We're going to do our best. But yeah. So I have some notes here. I want to talk about what this podcast is, what it's for, what my idea was, how the idea came up. So this is long form content for the consumer wanting more. Right now, my content's limited to an Instagram where I post pictures regarding basketball, the NBA, other levels, pretty consistently. I post quite a few times every day, and that's great, but there's only so much you can get from images. So this is kind of a longer form version of that, and it's also a way for people to listen to me instead of reading my Medium blog, which is the other thing I'm doing. It's a way for you to listen and hear me talk and, I don't know, get to know me a little bit better as a person versus just some words or a picture on a screen. The idea for the podcast came from my dad. He said that, he kind of said that same thing. He was like, listen, reading and everything and seeing pictures on an Instagram are great, but people like to be able to just kind of sit back and engage, right? I know me personally, I don't love reading long articles I stare at Instagram a lot. I can't really say that. But yeah, I don't like reading a whole lot. I can definitely think of some things I'd rather be doing. I love listening to podcasts. And I feel like it kind of reaches a different audience. I feel like it reaches a different type of audience. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind it. A little bit about myself. So my name is Phoenix. I am from Austin, Texas. I go to school in New York, but I am staying in New Jersey as we got kicked off of campus. I am a business management major with a focus in sports management and a minor in journalism. This is the journalism part. It's kind of my way to get some experience under my belt talking. Hopefully I'll be able to get to talk to other people, which I'll get into that in a second, but yeah, talking to a screen kind of sucks, but I think it'll help me with my speech skills. And also it's a way for me to have some experience under my belt when I start looking for jobs. I can say, hey, I've been building this social media platform, this blog platform, and I've been developing a podcast now for X amount of years. Whenever I graduate and begin looking for a job, I can use it to show people. But yeah, on to talking to other people. I want to do this with somebody else because I hate talking to a computer screen. This is awkward. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. So I want to eventually talk to my buddy Chase. He hosts his own little show called the Ace Combat Show. If you want to go check it out, and he's a big boxing guy. He boxes and he kind of gives his input on UFC fights and boxing matches coming up. He did one with Khabib and Justin Gaethje in which he actually perfectly predicted the outcome, which was a Khabib takedown and submission. I don't know anything about fighting, so that was pretty impressive to me. And yeah, I would like to get him on here because he's also knowledgeable about basketball. We both know about football. We both know about other sports. I think it'd be a good way for us to we've been buddies for a long time, and we've gone our separate ways as we started college, and I don't know, I think it'd be a good way to kind of collaborate. It should be fun. I'm excited about it. So Medium, I know I mentioned that earlier. Medium is my long form writing content. It is my way to kind of offer public opinions on basketball. It will be mainly basketball. In fact, it will be only basketball because I don't like to write about other stuff. I don't like to write about personal stuff. We can get more personal on here if it gets to that point, but yeah, that's kind of my long form writing thing. It's going pretty well so far, and we'll actually get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's my long form writing thing. If you want to check that out, I have it linked on my Instagram, which is the next thing I want to get into. The success with Instagram right now has actually been overwhelming. I've started paying for promotions, which is something I've never done in the past, even on my personal account. And I don't know why I would pay for it on my personal account. I feel like a business-oriented account would be much easier to put together. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, just a business-driven / idea-driven account is easier to promote than a personal account. So I'm excited about it because I've never gotten this much engagement on an Instagram account before. I'm getting people giving feedback, liking it, commenting. It's cool. it's cool to have people supporting what you do. It's been a lot of fun. The next thing I want to get into after Instagram and Medium, once those are a little more developed, is I want to build a website for it. As I'm sure you've seen with Bleacher Report, things like that, media forums of basketball coverage, they have websites and apps and things like that where the audience can get even more deeply engaged with that, with whatever subject they choose. Sorry, I didn't know how to word that. Yeah, so I want to do that at some point as well. The issue I have with a website is I have very limited coding experience, and so getting somebody to help me with that will be a little more difficult than anticipated. And without further ado, I would actually like to get into my topic for the day. I'm going to kind of use this Medium thing as my topic driver, if that makes sense. I want to use it as a way to kind of have talking points, because it's long form content that I can kind of read off of and not plagiarize it because it's mine. So yeah, this article in particular is about my thoughts on the NBA bubble. So let's just start off by saying this: what an accomplishment for the NBA to pull this off. Not only did they do it, but they did it extremely well and with very few flaws. Their slogan, "A whole new game," cannot be more accurate. Back in July, when the bubble games first began, I have to say that I was admittedly skeptical of future success. As someone who is not only a fan of basketball but has been playing it their entire life, the thought of not having fans and doing everything virtually seemed like a dumpster fire waiting to happen. So many questions popped into my head. What will the atmosphere be like? How will players respond? What will happen to the ratings? Who is a championship contender now? All these questions are questions I'm going to answer today in the podcast. So let's start with the first major question. No fans. What will the atmosphere be like? I personally did not attend a bubble game. Nobody outside of the NBA attended a bubble game except for family. But I'd imagine it's comparable to playing pickup at a rec center. It's you, the guys, and nobody's watching. That is an interesting environment to play professional basketball in. And the reason I say that is because this NBA is driven by veterans who have been playing their entire careers in arenas filled with 25,000 people. Man, what a change to go from 25,000 people screaming to an empty gym. Not only that, but you're playing the playoffs and things like that in an empty gym, the finals in an empty gym. But that's not the only thing. The atmosphere changed significantly, and I'm sure it was a lot different. I don't actually know what the atmosphere would be like, but how do the players respond to that environment? Clearly, they responded pretty well. I think it depended on the teams. I know the Suns responded well. They went 8-0 in their seeding games. I don't think anybody expected, to be honest with you. But yeah, they went 8-0 in their seeding games. I think players like Devin Booker, James Harden, if I remember correctly, had a pretty good showing in the bubble. I know LeBron played well closer to playoff time. Yeah, these guys all responded really well, and I think it's a sign of the kind of player you are when you can play well in that environment, having been so accustomed to a previous setting. That's great, and I think players responded overall pretty well, and I think it led to some interesting outcomes as far as what teams ended up where towards the postseason. The ratings. So ratings were a big question for me, and as I'm sure they were for a lot of other people. And when reading into it, it actually turned out that the TV ratings were at an all-time low for the NBA. But that's with good reason. You don't have any fan viewership. There's no real reason to broadcast the games on TV. I don't really know what the reasoning behind the TV ratings being low was, but I'd imagine it had something to do with lack of fans. But the cool thing that the NBA did is, because they knew people were quarantined, they made the games accessible via mobile platforms. ESPN app, the TNT app, several other things, the ABC app on laptops, on iPhone, on Android. They did it so well, and with that said, they had the highest mobile viewership ratings that they've had in their history as an organization, which is a super impressive feat. Like, you can't you can't diminish that at all. It's like huge props to the NBA Players Association, Adam Silver, the NBA. Like, it's incredible what they were able to pull off in 4 months. And I think the biggest accomplishment is there were 0 positive cases in their 4 months in the bubble. Like, the MLB and the NFL cannot say that. The MLB just finished out their season, and I know they had a couple of teams who had breakouts. Justin Turner, one of the players in the World Series, tested positive and was on the field with the team, which, by the way, that kind of makes me angry. I don't understand the logic behind, like, I understand they won the World Series, but that logic seems a little dodgy to me. Whatever, that's a different topic for a different time. Who's a championship contender? This is my favorite subject, actually, because that completely changed the second we got into the bubble. I don't know what y'all's kind of basketball predictions were, but the second we got into the bubble, it was even playing field, really. Like, I did not see the Miami Heat. So the teams I did see. So let's talk about the teams I did see being championship contenders. And I got to go a little fast here because I only have about 4 minutes left before I have to cut this short. And we only get 15 minutes. Teams I did see. Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics, Clippers, Lakers, maybe Houston. That's about it. Like, those are the teams I really saw. I did not see the Miami Heat going as far as they did. And I know, for me personally, some of my friends were seeing the Heat going as far as they did. But I think that is just even more of a testament to how much the atmosphere changed the running environment, like the running environment, the playing environment. Like, it was even playing field. There was no more crowd momentum. And I say this and I will say it again. Crowd momentum is something you have to experience in order to truly understand. And me having played basketball my entire life, I get it. I see what it does. And when you're not walking into an arena with 25,000 people, you're not feeling that same energy. So yeah, I think that's it for the day. This is my third take. I'm really proud of this one. I feel like I kind of got into it a little bit, which is pretty good. I appreciate y'all listening. I am going to do my best to get this uploaded and hopefully shared with a couple of people so they can give me their feedback. And that is the first My Take podcast. Thanks, guys.